Have a seat. Now, I promise you that none of the following sermon is going to be about football. None of you believe me. I spent the last couple of days at St. Crispin's. I'm on what's called council, and it's basically the vestry for the whole diocese, right? So, you have the vestry for this place, which is kind of the group of people to get together and make decisions, and you elect them and all that good stuff. Well, council is the larger version of that for the whole diocese. And then there's standing committee, a group of 6 people who are elected. In case the bishop gets hit by a bus, they're in charge, and I'm on standing committee, and that is frightening. And I just make sure that the bishop never gets on a bus, ever. So during this meeting we have at the beginning of the year, it's always to bring people together and to talk about kind of the ideas and the hopes and the things that are coming up in the coming year. And then also so we can get to know each other, some of the newer folks that haven't been there before. Now, I can tell you with full aplomb that from the hours of 11 to 1, I was completely locked into that meeting on Saturday. I did not have my iPad out in front of me watching ESPN. But that meeting yielded some interesting things. It started with, and this seems to happen every single year, not in this diocese, but just somewhere in the church, someone will write something to this effect: the church is dying, and then they will give a bunch of statistics proving why. And every year this happens. Have you noticed this trend? This fun thing where we all get together and we're in hopes and dreams, and then all of a sudden somebody says church is dying, and you're like, oh, I thought I was here for something else. They talked about over the next 5 years, 100,000 churches will close. 100,000 churches in America will close. 25% of the churches that exist here. You see, less people are attending church now than they were 40 years ago, 50 years ago, 70 years ago. And they say the church is dying because of the attrition that's happening. And people say it's because people aren't raising their kids right. Well, I see kids. They say it's because this nation has lost its sense of core values. Well, this nation was never meant to be one nation under a specific God. We're a democracy, are we not? Okay, we're a republic. Fine. We can have civics lessons later, Durwood. So if it's not that, and it's not that parents are doing wrong, here's what I'm thinking. And here's what got me thinking about today's gospel. John's out there living off the land, and he sees the people that know the most about Jesus, or not Jesus, but about theology, supposedly, running up, and he says, you brood of vipers, how dare you come up in here and try to get baptized when you don't even believe? See, here's what I think happened. Back in the day, let's say 40 years ago, you had to go to church, didn't you? Anybody remember that? Anybody remember being told you were going to church? None of y'all? You never told to go to church? Me either. But you, yeah. Let's go 20 years ago. Anybody remember being told to go to church? Like that's where you were going to be? You lived there. Janet? Yeah, Eric for sure. Yeah, I know. Right? Like church was what it was. Church was, back in the day, church, you had to go. It wasn't, are you going to church? It was, where do you go to church? Where are you going this Sunday? Right? And the reason for that was because there was posterity in going to church. Did you know that in the 70s, especially, you couldn't be on city council unless you served as a vestry person in the Episcopal Church? Wild, right? Truth. Look it up on the Googles. Here's what I think happened. I think that a lot of people that used to go to church because they were told to stopped going because it stopped being a societal norm. They didn't have to go anymore, so they stopped. Now we have people coming to church because they want to. Is anybody here because they have to be right now? Was anybody told besides Alan that he had to be at church today? I called Alan this morning and told him he had to be here. Was anybody kidnapped in a van without windows and told that they were going to a specific place today and that they had to worship Jesus? Any of you? No? Did anybody drive more than 30 minutes to get here? There's a few of you. I know you did. You're not responsive today. What's going on? You guys tired? My first sermon was preached in a Baptist church. I don't know if you can tell that by my style. I'm a lifelong Episcopalian, and they said, you should come preach at our church. And I was like, what? Really? Okay, we can do that. And I still remember what the scripture was. It was a scripture, y'all heard this scripture, to each person is given a different gift of the tongues, gift of the Spirit, gift of teaching, gift of winning a Big 12 championship. Like those things, I'm pretty sure that's in there in the Bible. It's not. So each of us are given gifts, and I have the gift of gab some days. Apparently today is not one of them, but I remember giving a sermon, and in that sermon I said the following, and I'll have you do it. Everyone look to your left, at the person to your left. Everybody look to the person to your right. Now look at me. Half the people you just looked at, and I said this back then, I don't mean it now. Half the people you just looked at don't believe in Jesus Christ, which was true. Pew Research Center did a study that said that 50% of Christians that went to church only went because society told them they had to. 50% of people that sat in pews only showed up on Sunday so that someone would see them there. That is frightening. And you may frown and you may disagree, but let me tell you something. I'm not wrong because I have the internet to back me up. And the internet can make anything true. Also, I saw it on Facebook. But during that sermon, I remember somebody coming up to me afterward and saying, I didn't know that. Is that real? I said, yeah, it's real. Well, what do we do about that? It's a good question. I think it leads to the question that was asked yesterday after all the hard stuff was given out, all the hard news. What's your hope? What is your hope for the church? Right? Is our hope for the church that we can put more butts in seats and continue to grow and make this a monolithic experience for everybody and, we have a bunch of people here? Well, if it's that, we can just become a country club. We'll build a golf course out back. It'll be fun. For me, I recognize that my hope was that in the knowledge that people that are coming to church now actually want to be here. The brood of vipers is gone. People aren't coming to church anymore to be seen. They're coming to church because they're looking for a better way to live. They're looking for a bastion against the storm of humanity that tells them that they are not right in their own lives. They're looking for someone to love them instead of hate them for who they are. Anybody experience that in here? They're looking for a family, a real community. Somewhere where you can walk in and somebody actually asks you what your name is instead of how much you pledged. Which is really funny that I say that because we're going to talk about that during the piece. So, here we are. But more importantly, a place that espouses and lives into what it is to be Christian. How many of you come to this place knowing that you are Christian and that knowledge that you will end up in paradise with Jesus Christ? How many of you? How many of you have hope for eternal salvation? And how many of you give your time, talent, and treasure to this place because you believe that Jesus Christ is Lord, the way, the truth, and the life? How many of you do it because you want to be seen by somebody else? Besides Alan. He keeps raising his hand. I'm not picking on him. Here's what I've come up with. I don't think the church is dying at all. I think the church is thriving. I think the church is growing in extraordinary ways. I think the church is actually filled with disciples now instead of people that just have to go. Husbands who are dragged along by their wives, wives who are dragged along by their husbands. I think kids want to be here because they want to be here. I know that. Kayla, where are you? Did you have to come to church? Did you choose to? You were the only kid here with your sister Kennedy. Yeah. Will, are you the sole Cochran in this place right now? Yeah, Will. Will is here because he's a kid. Why we come to church matters, and church has become more than just a building. It is a place of rejuvenation. It is a place where we can find the things we're looking for, where we can learn more about God, live deeper into what it is to be a Christian, to treat each other well, that we can have a place where other people check on us, where we can have a place where we can check on others, where we have a place that no matter who we love or who we voted for or whose team we're going for or whatever, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, we're all equal in the sight of God, are we not? We're not here to just sing. We're not here to just preach. We're not here to just push buttons on a board back there. We're not here for just the altar guild. We're not here to just make fun of me all the time. I want you to know that this church is thriving. This church is growing. And it's growing in discipleship. It's growing in the real ways that matter. We're building houses. We're feeding the homeless. We're clothing the naked. We're giving manna bags to people who need a drink of water. All things in Scripture. We're holding services that uplift the lowly. We're friending the lonely. We're doing the things that Jesus Christ asked us to do because that is by God who we are, not what we espouse. We decided a long time ago that we would be Christians and that the world would know it because when they walk into these doors, they get a real handshake and a real hug. They get a real ask of who they are. How many people have experienced the love of this place? How many hope to? That's why we exist. It's the only reason we exist. To show the love of God to everybody around us and the people that have not yet known God, who seek God. To show them that they too are worthy of the grace freely given that has been given to us. Friends, the church isn't dying at all. This church is alive and God is not dead, and I will stand here till my dying day and proclaim that Jesus Christ is Lord. The church of the resurrection shall live in perpetuity because resurrection means bringing old things into new life. That the voices of the angels will echo in heaven as we say our holy, holy, holy. And that as the meal we share together becomes the Eucharist that we so desperately long for, Jesus Christ will become apparent among us and work through us every single day. And that is my hope.